Hi, I'm Alison.
And I'm Taylor.
And we're the hosts of the Anxiety Chicks podcast, where we dive deep into the reality of anxiety, nutrition, and mental health.
Listen as we explore all things anxiety healing while keeping it real, including our own struggles with mental health.
We'll bring our expertise as healing professionals to the conversation while discussing the tools and strategies you need to heal the anxious mind.
Listen to the Anxiety Chicks on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Anxiety Chicks podcast. I'm Alison Sepanera.
And I'm Taylor.
And we are so excited for our guest today because we were talking before we started recording. And if you know, you know, because if you're someone that's been following me since like 2018, I guess I would say I started, then you might know Miss Faith from, what's the actual, I always get tongue-tied.
It's okay. Fleur-de-lis speaks. So, you know, like the little flower, the fleur-de-lis, it's the symbol of Louisiana, which is where I'm from. So
yes. Okay. That makes sense. I was thinking maybe, of course it does. I was thinking maybe it's part of a name because it's such a beautiful, sound. But anyway, we were talking about how you are sort of an OG in the health and wellness community of Instagram. And I'm just so excited. I've wanted to get to talk to you and collaborate with you for so long. And we finally got you here. So I'm so happy to welcome Faith Broussard Cade. Okay, and I'm going to tell everyone a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of dive into our topic today. So Faith is a mental health counselor, coach, and author whose work has inspired over 300,000 people online to embrace self-care, gratitude, and healing. After years as a school counselor, a baker, and food blogger, she began sharing handwritten affirmations that quickly resonated worldwide. She's the author of 2 guided journals and Shine Bright Anyway. That's the title. It's a collection of affirmations on the power of self-love and self-care. Today, she helps others recognize that everything they need to step into their power already exists within them. Well, you have so much expertise to offer. I can't wait. And it sounds like personal experience too when it comes to affirmations. And as we were kind of brainstorming a little bit about this topic, I was so excited to get an affirmation expert on because we haven't really dove into this topic before. And I am a huge advocate of affirmations. I've used it myself. It's probably one of the most effective tools in my healing toolkit, mostly because it's one that I actually really started learning about a lot because of your page, and a lot like from who I'm sure you know, Louise Hay, who is like the queen of affirmations. But I want to talk a little bit about kind of what they are, because I think people think of affirmations as just, you know, these sentences, which they can be, right? That's just positive sentence. And you're just supposed to be positive, and you're supposed to just wake up and say, okay, today's going to be great today. And kind of just sometimes people get lost in the words because it sounds a little bit like toxic positivity. So I wanted to demystify that a little bit. So can you kind of explain what affirmations really are and how they can really work?
I can explain what they are for me. I hate to like make broad generalizations because I feel like not everything works for everyone, and even not how one person thinks about something or perceives something is the way everyone else does. So for me, affirmations are things that I may not necessarily be able to see in the present or currently materialized in my life. However, they are things that I want to be true, I hope to be true, and also things that I think are in alignment with who I am, my personal values, my faith, the most authentic, raw part of who I am. So rarely ever is my affirmation something like, I'm going to have a great day today. Not that I don't want to have a great day, but for me, that's very generic. It doesn't speak to me. My affirmations are things like, today my spirit is at peace, no matter who or what attempts to disturb that peace, even if that person is me. Right. So my affirmations are very raw. They do not pack any punches, and they do not tiptoe around things that are uncomfortable for me. So for me, it's uncomfortable to admit that that sometimes I'm the biggest obstacle between myself and my dreams. Sometimes I'm the biggest obstacle between myself and me having a great day. Sometimes I'm the biggest obstacle between myself and the peace that I want to feel, only because I may allow other people's stuff and other people's circumstances to kind of disrupt that. So I try to make my affirmations as real and as intentional as possible, even if that means me calling something out in myself, because if I don't call it out and like admit that it's there, I can continue to play the victim or have this victim mentality of, well, so and so made me have a bad day today, when really, like, so and so has no power over whether or not I have a good day. It's how I feel about what so and so did. It's how I interpret what they did, how I respond to what they did or said. So for me, affirmations are words, phrases, sentences that speak to the truth of what I want to see in my present life, although it may not have materialized just yet. Does that make sense?
So I love that, because in the work that I do as a cognitive behavioral therapist, I'm constantly working with people who have this like fear-based brain, right? And
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
they get into this, like, their brain is in this constant cycle, kind of like a hamster wheel of just
Right.
fearful thoughts and intrusive thoughts. Um, and I mean, we have so many thoughts a day. We have like
Yeah.
thousands and thousands, like
Yeah.
50,000 thoughts a day. And so many of the my clients I see, just it's sort of this cognitive bias. They're always looking for this, negative piece of what's happening in their life, or there's
Mm-hmm,
these constant fear.
mm-hmm.
That's just, of course, they don't want it, but their brain is on this constant loop, and it's like
Right.
feeding it, right? So how I approach and I teach about affirmations, I do a lot of cognitive work in like helping
Mm-hmm.
reframe, and how they can detach from that voice in their brain, but also they really do need to kind of interrupt that cycle, but then they need to really work on that reframing,
Right.
and do it in a way that isn't like that toxic positivity. That's why I love the way you say what the words are that you use for you are so important.
Mm-hmm.
It seems so important for people to find the right words for them. Like there isn't
Absolutely.
just right. And of course there are wonderful affirmations. You can Google
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, like give me some
Mm-hmm.
affirmations for health anxiety, or for,
Yeah.
right, like social anxiety. And there are, blanket ones that can be good to kind of train your brain. But I think really using words that speak to you are
Mm-hmm.
so powerful.
Yeah. And I think that's key. I think that definitely it has to be that, or it won't stick, right? There's so much information out there and so many like quick things. Like now you can probably say to like AI assistant or chat GPT, look, give me an affirmation for a great day. That doesn't mean that it's going to be something that's in alignment with who you are and something that will stick, or something that will even um, have meaning for you. Um, it's just like, your friend lost 20 pounds on such and such diet or meal plan, or however she does her gym routine or whatever. Just because you like go and do what she did doesn't mean that you're going to get the same results that she did. Doesn't mean that, she may do Stairmaster because she loves Stairmaster and that works for her. But then you try to do Stairmaster and you're so miserable that you stop going to the gym 2 days in, but you prefer Zumba because you like to dance. Then you go and do Zumba because you're more likely to stick with your Zumba class and your cute, fun outfits and the fun music than you are like going and slugging it out in the gym. So it has to be something that will, when you think about that thing, it will conjure up meaning for you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, move on, find something else, pick something
Yeah.
else. It does not have to be trendy. It has to be what works for you.
So what would your suggestion be, I guess, if someone's listening and they're thinking, oh, okay, well, I've tried the affirmation work a million times and my brain still goes to this place, or I'm kind of nervous to even try it because I don't know if I really believe that it's going to work. We have some doubting people that are
Yeah.
doing it. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that do what works for you. Quite honestly, I know this is an affirmations like talk, but if you have tried affirmations in a certain way, and they haven't worked for you, then maybe affirmation work is not for you. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying that on here, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Now, if you're saying, I've tried Googling affirmations and tried to use the one that someone else said was good for this thing and it didn't work, then try doing some deep digging. That's what I would say for you. Try to do some deep digging. If you sit in the quiet, which we don't always like because that's when all our stuff comes up, right? Sit in your quiet time just for a little bit. Think about the things that really are the most challenging for you throughout your day, the things that you struggle with, the things that you have fears of, the things that you doubt about yourself or your life or your potential, the things that are the most challenging for you throughout the day. And think about how you would prefer for those things to be, just different than the way they are. Okay, so first, your challenge, how you would like it to be different than the way it is. And then do some real deep soul searching and think about, is there any role that I play where I need to hold myself accountable in the way that things kind of land by the end of the day? I start the morning super optimistic, and then by the end of the day, I'm like, man, screw it. This is like, this is not working, right? If that's you, what happened in your mind, in your body, in like your physicality? What happened in between you being optimistic and then the day just being a dumpster fire? What happened there? What were the recurring thoughts in your mind? What were the recurring thoughts that you said, right? Because our words have power. The things that you say out of your mouth, not only have you been thinking them, but now you've spoken them out, and then you've heard them back when you said them. So you've got 3 different levels of like affirming those negative things. How about let's try to like switch that around, do a mindset shift and see how changing those words around, changing those thoughts around, maybe taking a pause before we let the negative stuff come out and reframing it. How can me switching a few things here and there change the overall trajectory of my day? And so once you sit with those things, hopefully, if you are doing the hard work, which is the heart work, then you will be able to pinpoint where, yeah, maybe I could have made a different choice here. Maybe I could have kept back that negative thing that I said and turned it around and said something else. So you may find, if you're honest with yourself, you'll find those little places where you can make the little changes and start from there. It doesn't have to be anything profound. It could be something as simple as, today I am intentional about the words I speak. Period. because intentionality means that there is thought behind it. It means I'm not just spewing at the mouth, whatever comes to mind, whatever somebody makes me feel, anytime someone hurts my feelings, anytime a coworker bothers me. It means that before I let something come out of my mouth, I have taken a pause and I have thought about it. And so whatever comes out, I take full responsibility for that, putting that out there.
I love
Does
that.
that help?
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I just want to say that I think that, being able to do this work is probably, when it comes to like really changing the brain,
Mm-hmm.
this is like the hardest thing.
It is. Oh,
There's
gosh.
a million tools and techniques that you can use, and breath work, which is amazing. All the tools in my toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
The grounding exercises, the yoga
Yes.
I love, all of that stuff. Wonderful tools that are tangible, even some of them that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
But the cognitive piece, when you have anxiety and the
Yeah.
intrusive thoughts that you have that are constantly
Mm-hmm.
telling you what to be
Mm-hmm.
scared of or that you're in
Right.
danger,
And the
this
inner
is,
critic that is
oh my gosh,
always there. Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's the hardest part of this work. And
Yeah.
so I think everyone, you need to remember that this isn't, affirmation work isn't like, let's do this. And okay, first of all, there's amazing books and amazing teachers out there about it. Of course, we know, Faith is one of them. And you're not just going to pick up the book and read it, and 3 weeks later, yay, affirmation work, I got it, my brain's different. This is literally a lifelong process for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I need this work some days more than others. And you have to remember that your brain is a muscle. So if you're going to consistently stay in a pattern of a negative thought loop, and without kind of breaking that cycle and really practicing the affirmation work, and waking up in the morning and getting your mind and your body in an intentional state, and either you're meditating or you're in a state that you feel balanced in, and you really practice saying these statements to yourself. Or I don't know what you think of mirror work, but that was a huge piece of incorporating affirmation and mirror work, which is something I talk about in my book, which is, being really vulnerable with yourself, standing in front of the mirror and writing certain statements down that are in first person. And you say, like, I am loved, I am enough, I am safe where I am. And I kind of like, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say these things. I remember I cried like the first year I was doing this in the mirror, because I couldn't even, it was so hard for me to do that. But you have to continuously do this work, and that's what's going to change the brain. That's what I learned, I feel like.
Yeah. I like how you're bringing honesty into the affirmation. So rather than just like saying to yourself like, oh, I am beautiful, I'm loved, I'm all these things that people think of when, I think if you ask someone who doesn't study affirmations, like, what's an affirmation, they would say something like that. Rather, you're almost surrendering the thing that is holding you back and making peace with it, and saying like, even though. And it's kind of like something my therapist said to me this last week. She was like, I want you to find like a bunch of random stones and really dig deep within yourself of things you're still holding on to and struggling with, and take those stones and write like just one word that comes to your mind about that struggle you're having. And literally saying like to God or whatever, like, I surrender this stone, I surrender this feeling, and it no longer has a hold on me. And even if it does, even if I wake up tomorrow and it's still there, I'm surrendering it every single day, and knowing like I'm one day better to getting better. Because like, I feel like it's hard when you say, I am beautiful, but you don't believe like you're beautiful or like worthy or loved or something like that. Rather than like, I'm releasing my perfectionism that I've been holding so hard onto, and I'm accepting me for who I am.
Or I choose not to accept the negative perceptions that people have of me, because maybe you don't feel beautiful because a jerk ex-boyfriend told you weren't, or whatever, right? So part of your identity has become other people's words. So then your affirmation becomes that I do not accept, or I choose not to accept the negative words that are spoken to me or about me, because you're absolutely right. If you're if you don't feel a thing, it's hard for you to keep reciting that thing, um, because already you're in a state of disbelief. And that's kind of a lot of times where people chuck affirmations by the wayside.
Yeah.
Because if they think, think about this, somebody's living, um, and not making a livable wage, right? Maybe living in poverty. You see struggle and poverty all around you. And somebody says, well, your mindset is negative, and so that's what's keeping you in poverty. If you like, you need to wake up saying, I am rich today, and my bank account is expounding exponentially. That is hogwash. And that's the southerner in me. But that absolutely does not work. You cannot tell someone who is trying to feed their children and trying to keep the lights on and trying to keep their head above water to say that they are rich and expect them to buy into that farce. Not that at some point in life they cannot progress beyond their current means, but for them at this point, that seems absolutely ludicrous and impossible. And so you're starting them off doing affirmations about something with doubt in their mind. You cannot start affirmations with doubt. Affirmations, affirming something, already means that you believe in it, that you are confirming the very thing that you are saying. Not, you may not see it in the moment, but you believe that it at least can be true. That person does not believe that there's going to be $100,000 in their bank account tomorrow. So that is not going to work. I wouldn't even say that because it sounds asinine. So it has to be something that someone, or that you can believe in. Not saying don't think the negative thoughts, toxic positivity, be happy and smile all the time, never doubt your current circumstances. It simply is like, does what I'm saying feel good to me? Does what I'm saying feel supportive of what I'm trying to accomplish? If the thing that I'm saying out of my mouth sounds crazy and I almost like chuckle at it, or I immediately have this like doubtful, negative, snarky attitude about it, like, yeah, right, there's going to be $100,000 in my bank account tomorrow, then you just need to cross that off the list. Do not say that. That is not your affirmation for today. Pick something that when you say it, although you may not see it right now, you are 99% sure that with some personal deep diving and personal work and personal mindset shifting, that you absolutely can achieve that. I know that if I do deep diving work, that absolutely I can be intentional about the words that come out of my mouth today. I know that to be true. I know that if I don't just pop up at the mouth and be reactionary to everything that happens, to that person that cut me off on the highway, or that person that, like was yelling at me in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, if I take the pause, I know I can be intentional about my words. I
Yeah.
know I can do it.
It's
And
funny because
that's the attitude you've got to go into affirmations with, or it won't work.
when you were saying that, I was thinking about something I included in my workbook, which is this. I give a little kind of in both books. I give a little bit about what kind of like routine can help
Hmm.
create
Mhm.
or make the affirmations work once you kind of. But before, you need to sort of know which ones are aligned with you,
Right.
right? Like, what are the affirmations that align best with you, like you were talking about? And there's a worksheet that I have them sort of we come up with some affirmations together about what
Mhm.
they feel like. I give them some ideas of like what you said. And then they sort of figure out, okay, that feels okay. And then I have them there's a whole list of boxes, and I give them some, and I just have them
Mhm.
write down, well, try this one, just write it down. And
Mhm.
even if you don't know if it aligns with you. And then on the other column, there's like a believability scale from like 1 to 100,
Oh, wow, that's great. Yeah.
and how much they believe that statement or not. And then that really actually helps them look
Mhm.
at each statement. They're like, well, yeah. And so if someone puts like a 0, it's like, okay, we're not going to work with that one. That's not
No,
in your
that's
affirmation kit right now. But there's
Mhm.
like 5 other ones where it's like maybe 20% or like 30%, and it's just like that. What I can work with. Let's work with
Right.
that, because why is there so much doubt in the 70% of that? Okay,
Mhm.
and kind of work on shifting that a little bit. And I think that's where the work of really kind of saying those statements intentionally to yourself can actually really change the brain if they
Yeah.
do believe it, even if it's that 30%, you know?
Mhm. That's great. Yeah. I like that believability scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to get back a little bit before we have to stop, about the inner critic, because you had
Yeah.
mentioned the inner critic, and I was just like, does anyone not have that? Because I want to meet them. Like, and mine, is again something that will just always be something throughout life, that
Mhm.
you'll have a path in your inner critic, and you'll need to really work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you talk to people with anxiety, that inner critic can be so loud. Like Taylor, you talked about
Mhm.
perfectionism before, right? So there's
Mhm.
such a connection between that. So, um, what do you notice, I guess, about affirmations and the inner critic, and in the way that the work for doing affirmation work, if the inner critic is so loud, what are some things that someone can do within the
Mm.
work that will help them not like want to give up? Because I feel like the critic's going to be like, nah, you're not enough, you're not
Right.
loved, you're
Right. All of
gross, you're
that stuff. Yeah.
disgusting,
Yeah.
so it gets louder, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the first part of it, just like with anything else, the first part is admitting that it's there, right? And so, although, I mean, I haven't met everybody in the world, but I'm pretty sure that everybody in the world at some point struggles with the inner critic. Like everybody has one. The funny thing is, though, that when you mention it to someone who's not familiar with this work or not familiar with the inner critic, and really what it is or what it means, people will be immediately like, no, I don't have that. And then in usually, because I actually teach self affirmation workshops, and so I said, okay, raise your hand if you don't think you have that. And most every hand around the room will say that, right? They'll raise their hand. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's try this. I want you on your piece of paper in front of you to write down the biggest, most extraordinary, most wonderful goal that you have. Like if you could do anything in life, right? Write down what that thing is. Like if you just dreamed up your dream life, put it down. Okay. And then read it aloud. And so they all read it. I said, raise your hand if after you read that beautiful, wonderful thing that you want to do, you immediately had thoughts of There's absolutely no way you can accomplish that. Everybody's hand goes up, right? That's the inner critic. No,
Yeah.
actually, that was my mom or my third grade teacher who said that I'd never be able to blah, blah.
Yes.
No, it's not that
Mm-hmm.
person, right?
Right.
It's not that. It may have began as that, but you are no longer really thinking about your third grade teacher when you just wrote that big, huge goal down. You just heard a general voice in your mind or had a general feeling of disbelief, skepticism. I can't possibly do that. That will never happen for me. That is your inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
That voice that is constantly present anytime that you aspire to do something, you try to start something new or different or unfamiliar, you you aspire to something better than where you are, you want to make a change about something in your life. That is the inner critic. And it may
Mm-hmm.
have started as that teacher or your mom or that friend who wasn't really a true friend to you. But then that those voices, collective voices, then kind of morph into your inner voice. It morphs into that inner dialogue that happens as soon as you try to do that thing or
Yeah,
even
you can't tell the
unconscious.
difference
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
You're
There's
you're
because
thinking, is that me or is that, and
right.
I actually like doing that with my clients too, is like helping
Mhm.
them discern between whose voice is that and
Mhm.
actually your truth, and
Mhm.
who you know you are, and trusting
Right,
yourself with you
right.
knowing yourself. And it's so hard to discern between that, especially when you're in the heightened anxiety state, or you
Absolutely.
have like panic disorder, and then there's so much shame that comes with like mental
Mhm.
illness sometimes. And
Mhm.
it's so hard to like discern between those two voices. But I think you're so right, like learning how to do that and recognizing, like, you know what, maybe that voice does
Mhm.
sound like this person or
Mhm.
this person,
Mhm.
but that's not true. Like
Right.
that is not true,
Absolutely. Or
you know.
sometimes people think that it's them, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
oh, like nobody ever said this to me or whatever, but I've just always been kind of a Debbie Downer. I've always been a negative person, right? We've like take these labels onto ourselves, and that is you've not from conception, you are not a negative person. You've had negative experiences that have become internalized that then come out as that inner critic or your inner voice, that inner dialogue becomes so negative you can't decipher between what is the truth and what isn't. And so people also don't realize that like having this debilitating fear of failure or being a chronic procrastinator or self-sabotaging, all of those things come as a result of that inner critic. So the first thing is like getting people to understand that in some way or another, that inner critic is influencing their thoughts, what they decide to take a chance on, when they decide to go for that promotion at work or not, right? That it's there. And then so once that you like identify it and you realize it and you realize that um a lot of times we downplay or minimize our own accomplishments, um, almost because we want to beat the inner critic or we want to beat those people before they downplay our thing that we're excited about, right? Because maybe then it'll hurt less. Um, so it's almost like, somebody maybe gives you a compliment, you immediately downplay it, or like, oh, this dress, it's like really old. I got it for $5 on sale 1,000 years ago, because you are constantly minimizing who you are and what is important to you, um, because you have a fear of that rejection or
Mhm.
that thing from the inner critic. So once you realize it, then you take those things that seem to be attacking the most vulnerable parts of you, and you find words that help to shift or change the meaning of those things. You find words that help to shift or change how those things make you feel about yourself, about others, about the world around you, right? Sometimes the words that we need are the words that not only help us be kinder to others, but to be more kind to ourselves. Sometimes it's so easy for us to give grace to other people, but as soon as we have a misstep or we fall short or we make a mistake, it's like, no, 100 years in solitary confinement for you, right? Like, we are so quick to penalize ourselves. And I often tell people, like, maybe writing your affirmations should remind you of something that you would say to your dearest friend who's going through a hard time, right? Because if your dear friend came to you saying, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Like, I'm trying to hold the line on this. I'm trying to do better. Like, I'm trying to set a boundary. I'm trying to do whatever. And I keep not holding up my end of the bargain. You would never, not ever in life, dream of getting onto that person and shaking a finger in their face,
Right.
punishing them, or never.
Right.
You would first embrace them with
Yep.
compassion, right?
Yep.
And tell them, like, all of the wonderful things about themselves. And you would totally use every tool in your toolkit to build them up.
Oh, totally. And we never ever say half of the stuff we say to ourselves that's so mean to anyone. Like,
Never.
I even think about that, and I think there's no way I would ever say, like, how I'm looking at myself, and I have a lot of, like, body image limiting beliefs that I am trying to break. And I think, oh my gosh, I would never say that to anybody. Never say what I'm saying about my own body to anybody. That is horrible.
Right.
And
cool.
Yeah. And I think about that. Right. And, a lot of times too, that's kind of like our younger self too, that's still sort of insecure. And so, like, I love that, trying to come from a perspective of, like, what does that little girl or boy need to hear right now that's inside of me that feels like that's critical of themselves or judgmental of themselves? And also, what would I say to someone that I love right now if they were feeling this? I mean, both of those are huge pieces to this work. And I love, so before we go, so when we do these episodes, I usually think of, like, this healing tip of the week each week, because well, I have one that I'm gonna just see if we can come up with. Maybe all of us can together. But do you have, so for the healing tip of the week, do you have, like, a daily practice or a ritual with affirmations that you would recommend that, like, on a daily basis would maybe be helpful for someone?
So again, I will say what I do. And so my daily practice is quiet. I think quiet, gosh, it's such a wonderful thing. Quiet is, it's therapeutic. It's healing. It just is a beautiful thing. And a lot of times I joke about this as a mom with an 11-year-old daughter and a 3.5-year-old son, that, like, quiet, like, what is quiet? Like, that it just doesn't exist. Like, it doesn't, because there's always noise. There's always things. Like, give it a few minutes. They'll be here in a little bit because Dad's doing carpool pickup today. It will be a madhouse as soon as they walk in the door. Ma, 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 ma. Like, and it never ends. For someone like me, one who has a very severe case of adult ADHD, as well as a traumatic brain injury, that exacerbated the ADHD. Um, I am very easily overstimulated. Sounds, noises, lights, even are a lot. Um, I can feel the just anguish coming up in me when things are too loud, when things are too chaotic. So for me, and I think for a lot of people, if we care to admit it, quiet is extremely important. And if we took the time to have it, to prioritize it, to find it somewhere over the course of our day, we might be better off as a society in general. Right. And I already hear the people saying, oh, well, that's easy for you to say. Like, how am I supposed to get it? Da, 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 da. I get it. Hey, because I got 2 kids and they don't listen and they don't be quiet at all. So I have to find my time, whether that is, I spend a lot of time in my car, a lot of time in my car. Mornings, we wake up, they're hectic, getting kids together, breakfast, 2 different schools to drop kids off at. And then I come home to start my day of work. Before I get out of the car, I sit in the driveway. Sometimes I'm there for 45 minutes, just sitting in the car, in the quiet. No music, no favorite podcast on to distract me, because we also we value quiet, but we also like distractions, because noise and distractions keep us from sitting with the uncomfortable stuff that we need to deal with so that we can heal, right?
Yep.
So I sit in that car 30-45 minutes easy. I take some deep breaths. I like try to calm myself from the hectic pandemonium of getting kids ready for school and breakfast and spills and everything sticky and there's syrup everywhere.
Yeah.
And I give that to myself, and then I think about the day ahead of me.
Do you do your like some affirmations when you're in the car sometimes? Do you think of those like throughout that
So
time?
I do, but not because I make them up. And some people find
Okay.
this very quirky, but I every affirmation that I've ever written has not necessarily been something that I just sat and thought up and was like, "Ooh, that'll be good. Let me write and post that." I call them my divine downloads. Um, because affirmations come to me at any time of day or night. When they first started coming shortly after my car accident that caused the traumatic brain injury, when I started this affirmations journey, I thought that if it came to me, I could wait and deal with it later, and that's not how it works. It was like that divine inside of me was like, no, you need to write this now, like you need to put this down now. And
Wow.
so many times, if you are ever in Atlanta, you might see me pulled over on the side of the road or in a parking lot or like
Yeah.
someplace, because it's there and I've got to get it out, right? I've got to get it out. So it comes to me. I keep my little squares of like slips of paper. I keep a stack of them in the glove box in the car. I keep a stack of them in my purse because I need to always have them, because I never know when it's going to happen. And I
I
think
love
about
it.
like, what do I need for today? What do I have coming down the pipeline today? What is in my planner for today? And as I'm reading through that stuff, if anxiety comes up, if overwhelm comes up, if any of this stuff comes up, I'm looking for an affirmation that will give me the support and the tools that I need to navigate those things today. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about tomorrow. I'm not thinking about the work project or the content that somebody needs from me, or when I was writing my book, the book deadline for the editor that's due 2 weeks from
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
that I'm nowhere near meeting. I'm not thinking about that. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
today.
Now. Right now. Yeah.
What do I need to support me today? And so often, Alison, I write that thing down, I post it immediately. Thousands of people. I needed that today too. That's exactly what I needed today. Are you spying on me? Are you somewhere hanging out in my house? No. We're
That
all human beings having a very similar experience,
totally. And
right?
that was going to be my next, like just adding on to the healing tip of the week would be
Mm-hmm.
to encourage all the listeners and people watching to go to your Instagram page
Oh,
and maybe, no, I'm not even kidding, and look through your posts and maybe just look as long as you can and find like 3 to 5
yeah.
that like speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you start with those affirmations. Maybe that's
Right.
what you start with.
That's a good
You
idea.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like what they find on your page, write down some that really speak to you when you're looking at them and keep them somewhere and then start doing that work. Like I I'm a very visual person, so
Mm-hmm.
being able to put, like write some affirmations down and on like a sticky note and like put it
Mm-hmm.
on my fridge. And I actually do intentionally stop and read it every time I go into my fridge
Uh-huh.
or when I go to my bathroom mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So being such a visual person and knowing that in my brain as I'm reading it, my brain is processing that and really starting
Right.
to process that affirmation versus, and that's getting louder in my brain versus the negative spiral that's happening. So
Absolutely.
that would be my tip, is for everyone watching or listening, definitely go to your page and just see what speaks to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, please tell everyone where they can. I know we said it in the beginning, but please tell everyone your Instagram again and
Sure.
any other social media platforms and where they can get your books and follow you and all that.
Awesome. So, sure. My Instagram is Fleur de Lis Speaks. I also have a website of the same name, so www.fleurdelisspeaks.com. I'm also on Facebook as Fleur de Lis Speaks. I'm also on TikTok as Fleur de Lis Speaks. It used to be on Twitter, but I don't even know how to log into it anymore, so we don't use that. And then also my book, Shine Bright Anyway. 90 affirmations that declare
Yes, there it
you
is. I
are
love
enough
it.
when the
Can you
world says
show,
you're not. Sure.
can we see up close? Because it's such a
Sure.
beautiful, it is literally one of my favorite
Oh,
covers.
thank you.
No, I'm obsessed with it. Can you see it?
She's
Oh,
pretty gorgeous. She's pretty gorgeous. Shout
so
out to Sabrina and the design team at Harper
awesome.
Collins Celebrate, because we literally had one call where she was like, "What's your design aesthetic?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty, like, pretty classic, traditional. I love a good string of pearls, but I'm not too yay yay. Like, I tried to do prints, but I never, like, I
Yeah.
just always end up buying solid colors. It never works for me." And so she's like, "Okay, great. I got some ideas. Like, where do you shop for clothes? Blah, blah, blah." Tell her. A couple months later, she came up with this. And
Oh
I
my
said,
gosh.
"It's perfect." Like, I have no changes, no
Yeah.
nothing. Those people are the real MVPs.
Love
But
it. Love it.
Shine Bright Anyway, 90 affirmations that declare you are enough when the world says you're not. That's my book. You can find it at any bookseller, your favorite retailer, Walmart, Target, Barnes& and Noble, Books A Million, Amazon. There's lots of, even some small bookstores online and local bookstores in your area that also may have it. They don't. You can ask them to order it. They'll be happy to do it. And and you can also order it from my website. But it's my it was hard work for me to write that book, and so I'm very, very proud of
Mm.
it. And I hope that you guys enjoy it.
It's a perfect gift
Thank you.
also because
Yeah.
it's such a great sentiment to give to someone who might be having
Mhm.
a hard time or like I know I was thinking about getting it for someone I know for Christmas because
Mhm.
um, I want them to see what I see in
Oh,
themselves.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so you're so powerful with your words that
Um,
I think it would really help them maybe believe in that a
Thank
little
you.
bit more.
That
So,
that never gets old for me. I'm honored. Thank you.
oh, Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know so many people are going to want to hear more from you for sure. So I can't wait to collaborate again at some point. And we will have everything in the show notes for anyone that's interested. And thank you so, so much again.
You're welcome,
and
Alison. It was so lovely to meet you, Taylor, too. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week, and happy healing. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
We hope this episode reminded you that you're not alone and healing is always possible.
If something we shared helped you, the best way to support the show is to leave a review or share this episode with a friend who needs it.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram @TheAnxietyChicks for more support between episodes.
We're just two chicks on our own healing journeys, cheering you on every step of the way.
Until next time.
Take a deep breath. You've got this.